Hello, this is the Ask Jasmine Money podcast. I'm Jasmine Birtles, founder of MoneyMagpie.com, and I'm joined by the political journalist Paul Osborne. This is a monthly podcast in which we look ahead to see how you can make and save money each month and have a smile as you do it. It's on the Money Magpie newsletter, which you can sign up for on the Money Magpie website. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jasmine, and Paul's also on Twitter at Paul Osborne. It's one of my non-existent New Year's resolutions to do some more Twitter activity this year, like a Twitter party and Twitter Q&As. What about you, Paul? Do you have any New Year's resolutions that you know you won't keep?
Probably all of them, to be absolutely honest with you. There's the usual one. I've got a gym membership. I could maybe use it. I could save more money for a rainy day. Probably not going to do any of them, but, you know, it's nice to have a dream.
Well, that's basically all of us, because the only thing that works for me is to come up with one doable thing and usually start it sometime before Christmas. I think it was not eating quite so much. I mean, that was a conscious decision in the run up to Christmas. You just have to do that. And I managed just about. Christmas wasn't too bad.
Quite a dangerous time to say I'm going to try and eat less immediately before Christmas.
True. Yeah, but you've got to do it. You see, that's the thing. Because if you don't, then Christmas comes and you're already over the hill by the time it comes, and you've got way more to sort out afterwards. The problem with January is it all goes mad again, and so you haven't got the time to keep up with all the things that you meant to keep up with. So I think if I can just start before Christmas, then it's all right. Of course, this year I didn't, so forget that.
The worst time for New Year's resolutions is New Year.
Yes.
Because everybody's doing them, and New Year is also sort of, you know, I don't mean to be too down on January, but it's quite depressing. You've got, you know, your credit card statement arrives from Christmas.
Yep.
Your next major public holiday is 3 or 4 months away. You probably, you know, filled with self-loathing because of all the turkey and the cake. And then suddenly you're like, and now I'm going to make a long list of promises to myself that I'm not going to keep. And I'm therefore going to hate myself even more at the end of it.
It's not fun, is it? Let's be honest, January is a month of the 3 Ds. Debt, divorce, and death. Oh, happy days.
Happy New Year.
Let's start with the ubiquitous post-Christmas debt hangover. Just one of the many stats that I've been sent about Christmas spending, etc. It said that a fifth of Brits used some form of credit to pay for Christmas. That included payday loans. We've just got to stop this madness. So, what do you think we can do as a country, not just individually? What can the government do? What can organisations do to stop people getting into this constant debt hangover thing in January?
The problem is the people who go to payday lenders, the people who go to these loan companies that offer ridiculous, exorbitant interest rates, are people who can't get credit anywhere else. If you've already got money, it's surprisingly easy to get more money. People are falling over themselves to give you money because they're fairly confident you're going to give it back to them. If, on the other hand, you haven't got any money, the only people who are willing to lend you any are going to want ridiculous amounts of interest back. Are there things that the government could do, for example, to encourage more credit unions to be set up? Could they, at the very least, give them, make it easier for them to promote themselves to people so that people knew that they were around? It's amazing. If you go online, there is a website where you can search where's my nearest credit union, and you'd be surprised how many there are in most parts of the country. But people don't know about them, and of course credit unions can't afford to advertise in the middle of an afternoon movie glossy ad that tells you you could have this money in your bank account in 15 minutes.
Absolutely, they're not glamorous, and also people are being attacked on a daily basis without realising it by media, by advertising, by marketing, and of course it is in the government's interest to promote business. You know, they do actually want us to go and spend money on rubbish in the high street, because that keeps the high street going, it keeps business going. All of us, we all need to be much more aware of that.
There is an appetite for this. You know, you've seen the rise of the lower cost supermarkets over the last few years. We were talking before Christmas about lots of retailers bang up the sale banners on the 20th of December
Yes.
to try and get people through the doors before Christmas, which was something that never happened 20 or 30 years ago. People are more aware of where they can save money online. Doesn't stop them spending money, however, and ultimately still, if you spend more money than you have coming in, you are going to get into trouble. And while the government can't step in and stop that happening to people individually, it could certainly make people more aware of the help that's available if they get into trouble, and of the alternatives to borrowing from people who are going to charge them a small fortune.
Another of the D's that we get very much in January is divorce.
This is very cheerful, I have to say.
It's so cheerful, isn't it? Yeah, apparently, the moment the lawyers' offices open, first, whatever, it's 6th of January, the first day of January, they are inundated, mostly by women, rushing in saying, I've had enough, I'm getting rid of him. Apparently, the lawyers don't do anything immediately. They sort of leave it for a week or so, because after a week or so, half the people come back and go, all right, I'll put up with them. They've sort of calmed down by that point. The divorce rate has actually gone down, but that's mainly because the number of marriages has gone down. The main thing that is a problem for a lot of people who do cohabit is that they think that they have pretty much the same rights and everything as they have if they're married. But actually you don't. You only get to have what your name is on, and you really have to prove it. Say, for example, you've moved in with somebody, they own the house, and you say, well, look, I'll pay the mortgage, you pay for this and everything. Then you split up. You have to show through all your bank statements and everything, no, really, I have paid this, and you don't have a right to the house. You can have maybe that money back, but you have to fight for anything else, even if you've had kids.
The moral of this story is if you woke up on the 1st or 2nd of January after a period of being intensely entombed with your closest relatives, and you decided that you couldn't stand it any longer, sleep on it. Even if necessarily you're sleeping on it on the sofa. Sleep on it, because you are entering a significant and lengthy world of pain.
Let's stick with the depressing stuff, and then we can go on to the fun stuff. January, you have more funerals, but the price has gone up. The price of the average funeral, and you and I both know this because we've had to organise some funerals recently. It's gone up to $3,700.
My grandmother died last year, and I was arranging the funeral. It was a good distance from where I live. It was up in the north of England, and we went up there, having made all the arrangements, and sat down in the room. They slid over the estimate, so face down. Now, I'd paid for another funeral a few years before, and it had been about £2,300. And so obviously I was expecting it to be more than that. Turned over the piece of paper, and it was a bit like when you get an expensive bill in a hotel bar and you think, I mustn't show any kind of shock that I'm being charged £20 for a gin and tonic.
I mustn't go, how much?
It's not seemly in what my grandmother would have called a funeral parlour to go, I'm sorry, how much? One of the interesting things about funerals is that by the time they ever talk about money, because they view that it's so tasteless to talk about money, you're so far down the line that you couldn't actually... What are you going to do? Are you going to cancel it? Are you going to say, I think I'm going to shop around? The other thing that was completely different, they asked for a deposit, which hadn't happened before. They asked for £1,000 straight away.
Interesting.
They said one of the reasons was because they were having people arranging funerals and they're not paying for them. The price of them is astonishing, and I suppose it's led to another of those businesses that you only see advertised on daytime television, where someone that you vaguely remember from TV from 30 years ago is sitting in an armchair and sort of rather euphemistically talks about those final expenses. People pay into these policies from the age of 50 that are supposed to pay out an amount when they die, but they only pay out if you keep paying. You are effectively gambling. And the bet is that you die soon, because if you die soon, you will get back more money from the investment than you put into it. If, on the other hand, you're cheerfully running around the golf course when you're 85, you've paid in far more money than you're ever going to get back. And if you ever stop paying, you get nothing back.
Well, absolutely. And I'm really not a fan of funeral plans. Some of them are all right, but it's like so many things, you have to shop around. You really do. You're often better off doing your own thing, setting up a savings account, putting whatever, £10 a month into it yourself. Put some money away and make sure that it's in your will. And that's the other thing, actually. Make a will. I keep telling people, make a will. It doesn't matter what age you are, because if you've got anything to give away, even if you hate everyone and you have no friends, make a will and give it to charity, because otherwise the government's going to take it, and who wants that? To go on to some slightly happier topics, I think.
Which I feel we could probably do with.
I think we probably could. Because, there's something I like about January, which is that sense of renewal. It's like, okay, you've got a fresh start. You can start again. And I also get to that point in January where I think, right, clear out. I'm a big thrower outer anyway. I'm running a national Clear Your Clutter Day in March the 19th. I do think that January is a great time to just have a clear out of everything and make some money. Stick it on eBay, go and do a car boot sale, have some space and some clarity and get some cash in.
The thing that's always stopped me from doing this is that I've bought things on eBay. I've never sold on eBay, and one of the reasons is that it just looks like an extraordinary faff. For the amount of money that you might get from selling the odd thing, and then I've got to answer all these questions from people, I've got to deal with all this admin, the eBay are going to take a slice out on the fees, then I've got to go down to the post office and use this. Actually, for the return, is it really worth the amount of effort?
Oh, totally with you there. And having done it myself a lot, I've been doing it a lot over the last year, and I've still got more now. And I am going to be doing my clear out this month, so I'll be selling more. I've realised that if it's going to be less than, I would say 20 quid, 25 quid, it's probably not going to be worth the faff and the hassle. And as you say, eBay takes its fees. Also, PayPal takes its fees, and mostly people pay through PayPal. There's Zifit, that's another one, or Pre-Loved. There are a few others. There's not just eBay. My mum lived for a while in a house that had quite a lot of quite small flats in it. It had about 20 flats, and it had quite a transient population. It was mostly foreign students who'd come and go, and anytime she took stuff to the bins, she'd be ferreting about, because sometimes people would go and they would leave literally bags full of practically new stuff: shirts, silk ties, kitchenware, books, all kinds of stuff. I called her Queen of the Bins because she'd be ringing me up going, oh, guess what I found in the bins? But the thing is, there was an Oxfam shop really literally round the corner. They could have taken it to Oxfam. If you happen to have any cash left, maybe your grand's given you a bit of extra money or something like that, there are some really good deals all over the place, including, and this is my favourite, theatre. So if, for example, like me, I've never seen The Lion King, and I'd really like to go and see it, but frankly, normally you can't really get a ticket for less than 65 quid, I would say. In January, thanks to getintolondontheatre.co.uk, there are cheap tickets across the West End, including some of the big musicals like The Lion King. If you just go into getintolondontheatre.co.uk, you can get these. It goes up to, I think, February 13th, because of course, the 14th onwards, that's big time for going out. Just briefly, you and I are both self-employed, and we know the joy of January is taxation, of course. Tax, happy tax. But then, of course, we're not the only ones, because everyone has to get their self-assessment in before the end of January, don't they?
Yeah, if you were filling in the paper one, it's already too late because you had to have it in by the end of October. I think most people now do it online. The chief appeal of that being that you put in all the numbers and it works it out for you. But yes, it all has to be in by the end of January, and they will start fining you on the 1st of February if you haven't paid them. And I think it's like £100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So please do pay your tax. Whatever you may think of George Osborne, pay your tax, because they will come after you.
I'll tell you what, though, if you have got to the point, and I've done this regularly, where you have to pay your tax and you think, oh, I just haven't got the money. I haven't got, I've spent it all. You haven't done what I tell everybody else to do, which is to put money aside during the year. the best thing to do is to phone up HMRC. You just say, look, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten and I haven't got the money. What can I do? And they are very nice. They will say, okay, we'll spread it over, X amount of months and you can pay bit by bit. They will charge you extra. You'll get a small amount of interest, but it's not horrendous. So do that. And the other thing to be aware of is that things are changing now with self-assessment form. In fact, gradually, they're going to get rid of the self-assessment form and the whole having to do it once a year thing. They're putting it gradually all online. It's already happening with businesses, some businesses, and they're expanding it out to more businesses, landlords as well. And by 2020, all of us will be required to do our tax online. What they're going to do is they're going to sort of set up this kind of all-in-one account for all of us. So you'll have all your tax stuff, and if you're on a salary, that information will be fed in. Any of your savings accounts, anything like that'll be fed in, and then you just have to add in anything extra. Say you make extra cash in the evenings working at the local pub or something, you will just have to put that information in yourself. And you'll sort of do it through the year. You'll kind of top it up every quarter, which, to be honest, I am pro it. I'm slightly worried because, anything that's online, anything government, you think, oh, golly, they're going to get it right, really. But at least it gets rid of that horrendous, oh, no, it's January, I've got to do this, I've got to find my tax, I've got to put it all in. Personally, I find it much better to have things sort of spread over in small amounts, spread over the year, than doing it once in a big, horrible, worrying, stressful lump.
It'll get rid of the, as you say, the annual panic that sort of, I think about 4 million people who are on self-assessment. This annual panic at the end of January. Got to get the money in, got to get the tax paid. That's true. My concern about, two concerns about this. Firstly, the government does not have a great track record in IT projects. Look at the NHS IT projects. They tend to spend an enormous amount of public money and massively mismanage it, and then it doesn't work. Second concern, although a lot of people who are self-employed will farm it all out to an accountant and will just throw bits of paper at them, the people who don't earn that much money maybe won't do that. They'll try to do it themselves. And now, instead of it being a once a year thing, it's going to be a quarterly thing. And it's just another bit of administration that's going to come round every 3 months, which really isn't that long. It is basically down to the government's desire to get more tax money in sooner.
Also, of course, it's part of the cuts because they're having to cut, or they are making cuts in so many departments, including HMRC, which is already on its knees, as far as I can tell. Very, very low morale in HMRC. And so if they can replace more and more people with technology and make us increasingly super consumers do our work, do the work that HMRC people were doing, all those sort of admin bits, we're doing our own admin. Or if they charge us an admin fee, I'll really have something to say about that, like ticketing companies and whatever. So,
print at home.
Yes!
Pay £1 to print at home. Buy a printer, buy some ink.
Yeah.
Don't get anything in the post. Use your own resources to print the ticket and pay us £1 for the privilege. Just give us £1.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just say, in order to buy this thing, you just need to give us £1. There's no reason for it. You will get absolutely nothing in return. We've just decided that at this point, we can fleece you for another £1.
Exactly.
So give us £1.
Yeah.
Similarly, the supermarket self-service checkout.
Oh, yes.
Why am I not getting a discount for running my own checkout? Surely I should be getting, some money off my shopping in lieu of the fact that I am now scanning it and packing it and dealing with the paying and being shouted at by a robot voice because I've done something slightly out of sequence.
Absolutely. And when that says unexpected item in bagging area, I think, unexpected item in your bagging area, madam.
It's the bagging area. It's going to have items in it. If there's one place where you would expect there to be items, it would be the bagging area.
It does get to me, though, because more and more we are doing our own work. For example, buying airplane tickets. I'm doing everything. I go on there, I'm filling in all those forms. It's so annoying. And then when it comes to paying, they want to slap an extra charge on for the joy and thrill of using a credit card. We've done all the work. We've taken the work away from them, and they have the cheek to demand that?
It would be fine if, I suppose the model of the cut price airlines is you do a lot of your own work, and if you get it out of sequence and they're going to charge you and they're going to punish you for it, but equally you are getting the ticket for a lot less than you would have done in the past. The thing that irritates me about things like self-service checkout or print your own concert tickets or all this kind of thing is there is no benefit to me from this. It was definitely easier when I put my basket down and somebody else did it. It was definitely easier to have somebody else price up and bag up my shopping. It was definitely easier when somebody else printed a proper ticket and sent it to me. My life's not got easier, it's got more complicated, and I'm not getting any reward for it. The tickets haven't got cheaper, the shopping isn't any cheaper. It would seem that the purpose of it is that I should just somehow make a charitable donation to a profit-centred organisation by just doing some free work for them. I mean, I didn't know I worked for Tesco's, but apparently a couple of times a week I do. I just put in a few minutes at Tesco's, just helping every little helps. Other supermarkets are available and are all doing the same thing. I just put in a few minutes at the supermarket. I put in a few minutes at the budget airline. I put in a few minutes at the ticket booking agency just to help them out. Because if there's one thing I want to do at this time of year when time and money is tight, it's just help large profit-centred companies to just make a bit more money.
That's really good of you, that voluntary work that you do on a regular basis without even Tesco points. I mean, that would be something. If they said use the self-serve checkout and you'll get extra Tesco points, that would be at least you go, oh, fair enough.
Free bag of crisps.
Yes, free bag of crisps. Thank you, Paul Osborne. This has been the Ask Jasmine Money podcast with Jasmine Birtles and Paul Osborne. You can hear this podcast on iTunes or on the podcast page on moneymagpie.com. Remember to sign up for free to the Money Magpie newsletter. Just click the box on the top right hand corner of the site. And also follow me on Twitter for more news. I'm at Jasmine, and Paul gives political commentary at Paul Osborne. Come back next month for bright ideas and a slightly more spring-like air in